Hello, it's JJ Humphrey, and I am with Bobby Cleveland today. We're in Elephant in the Room where we're going to talk about what nobody else likes to talk about in Oklahoma. I've been telling you guys we're going to do stuff on what's going on at the Capitol. Today, we're going to talk about the Pro Tem race, might throw in the Speaker's race a little bit. But Bob, before we talk about that, I just wanted to talk about just for a second on a federal level with what we've seen with this Biden, how they come out in the investigation, throwed it in the tank and said he was a nice old guy and that, absolutely he had broke the law and that he had violated the law in numerous ways, espionage and everything else, selling our foreign or giving foreign secrets, had these all over the place. And then they turn around and say, but we're not going to charge him. And Bob, I don't know, people may have forgot, but, they'd come out and said that Hillary had broke the law and that, that she had violated it in numerous ways and then said, but she didn't intend to, so we're not going to charge her. And Bob, I'm just getting sick. I mean, it's starting to really tick me off that, here they are after Trump on he can't sneeze unless they're going to file charges on him. And then they turn around and do that. I just wondering, I hadn't got a chance to talk to you about it and see what you thought about the whole situation.
Well, absolutely, there's double standards. There's no question about it all the way around. And it's kind of like the rules are the rules out there, but they're not for me. They're only for you, the little people.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I'm working, and Bob, a lot of people are really after me saying, well, you're after the Department of Corrections and you're after the court system, you're after the DAs, you've ticked off the AG, you're always on like the turnpike situation. And again, I am on a lot of things. But on that court system, this is why I'm on our court system. I can't do something about the federal court system. But here in Oklahoma, we have a system that needs fixed as well. We've got a lot of problems. I don't know that we have the two-tier system that's as obvious as what it is in the federal level, but we do have a lot of problems in our system. And so that's why I think it's important that we take care of where we live at our backyard, because if we're not, we're going to have the same problem that they have. And that's why today's subject is so important, because, again, it's about who represents you. It's about what do they really stand for. And people can claim to be one thing, but what you want to do is not listen to what people say, not look at what they brand themselves, look at what they do, look at how they act, look at what they actually do, not what they say. And so, Bob, today I want to talk about we've got a race, and boy, this thing has gotten heated there at the Capitol in the Pro Tem race. And Bob, for the last 2 years, most of the time your Pro Tem race is going to just be about, a half a year kind of race. This thing has actually been brewing for a couple of years. They've had a split in the Senate, about a 50-50 split for about the last 2 years. And when we had the big teacher, what we wanted to do with the schools, privatization, and all that, and the funding of all of that, well, it just split the Senate, and you couldn't get a bill passed because this group wouldn't vote for a bill, that group wouldn't vote for a bill. Everything's dead over there, and you couldn't get anything done. You come back the next year, you think, well, we're out of that, we'll move on. Not really. It's been about the same way the next year, and now here we go into this year, and they're going to have this this Pro Tem race here. In fact, I think on theirs it may be this week, Bob, and it's just gotten really, really it's hot. I've been up there 8 years. Bob, you've been around longer. Have you ever seen a Pro Tem race as hot as this one is open?
No, I've never seen it. I've never seen the ads, the full page ads in the paper several times. Tulsa World and Oklahoman by the Rifles. I think it's the Rifle Association put out some big time ads on it because he is opposed to OK2A. He's opposed to guns.
Well, somebody took out an ad on a van the other day, and I mean, like one of them big
Yeah, it's
vans.
driving around the Capitol.
Oh, it's like I've never seen anything like it. And again, OK2A, but there's several groups that have actually come out. Now, Bob, I was talking yesterday. I wasn't talking. I was supposed to talk, I thought, and then I got the wrong weekend. I'm supposed to be there this coming weekend. So, anyways, I went to a medical freedom, which is to say that we should never have to go through a COVID situation like we did with people forced to take vaccines and people not be allowed to see their loved ones in medical and all of that, and people put on ventilators even though they were asking not to be put on ventilators, and lots of horrific stories I heard yesterday. And so I was at that rally yesterday, and Bob, for the first time, I heard somebody speak for Greg McCourtney. So there's Greg McCourtney and David Bullard is who's running on this. That's the two people who are in the positions to win this Pro Tem race. And for the first time, I've heard somebody got up. The crowd I run with is definitely opposed to Greg, but I know Greg's got to have some support because it's going to be a pretty close vote. It's the way that I take it. But Bob, I personally have never seen any outside influence on these races. So I wanted to get your opinion. Do you think people ought to get involved in outside, like OK2A, some of these other groups, the vaccine groups and all of that? Do you think that they ought to involve themselves? Because I'm listening to a lot of the membership go, well, that ain't none of their business. It's our business. This is an inside vote, and it's nobody's business but ours. What do you think?
That's not factual. It's everybody's business. That's the people's house. Every vote they take up there has to do with the people. And when you get a pro tem or a speaker in there that's not going to have the same conservative values as the majority of Oklahomans, you got problems.
I 100% agree, Bob. I don't think that any vote up there. I'm for transparency on everything that we do, and I don't know that there's any more important vote in the state of Oklahoma that impacts us as greatly as this vote right here, because they control so much of what happens in that in that Senate. And so I think that absolutely, in fact, I applaud OK2A for their involvement. But I do know, Bob, I worry about that some people don't share our views and that they're starting to, say, well, we don't like the fact that that they're, putting the pressure on. They don't like pressure from outside, and they think all that should be kept quiet and done in house, or at least that's some of the things that I'm hearing up there.
Well, I think that when it comes time to voting and things that they do, you got to be transparent. And there's groups against them, and that it's sad that they are really that it's this bad, but it's a mess. It really is a mess over there, trying to get anything done.
Well, Bob, it's just like what I don't understand, and I my brain just I can't conceive this, because if I was there.
But hey, JJ, talking about your brain. Now, I read a little article in a magazine that potatoes was good for your brain. And I noticed you having French fries last night, so that should have helped your brain out.
I ought to be the smartest man in the world if potatoes are good for you, Bob. Okay. And I just got an email saying I was most ignorant. So I just got a person who's not happy with my furry bill. I'm like, that was 2 weeks ago. You're a late comer. You're a Johnny come lately. You know what I'm saying? Get off that one. Bob, I'm going to make me some little dolls. I can't wait for furry dolls. I'm going to get those out. I'm going to get the speaker and a couple of them, little furry dolls. They'll be proud of me. But Bob, here's what I'm saying is that, when we had that school issue, we left. I mean, we had a split in the Senate. We had a split. Couldn't get nothing done. The House was there was just a lot of controversy, and we left up there getting nothing done. And they had all interim, last year, and we come back and they didn't have. If I was them, if I was leadership, I would have went out and made a deal between that interim time and when we walked in there in January. We had all three, the pro tem speaker and the governor, had a deal. And if they would not make a deal, I would be out there going, well, let me tell y'all what I'm trying to do. And these two won't do it. Here's what I'm trying to do. I would be open with that. Instead, we this, and you can't tell who's telling truth. This one's over here saying they won't do nothing. This one over here saying they won't do nothing. And when we finally, a bunch of us said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna kick leadership out of this whole conversation," and a bunch of us representatives and senators were going to get a room and just get in there and say, "Here's what we've agreed to do." And guess what? When we started doing that, well, we come up with the plan. We come up with the deal. But it's just sad that it takes that. And
Did
here
the
we are.
Senate, Did the Senate even go into session when they call a special session? Did they just gavel in, gavel out?
Yeah, that's what I was just fixing to say, Bob. How can you have a special session, call it special session, and not have any more, collusion agreement? You know what I'm saying? What's used to calling it if they're going to walk out that
I don't
day?
understand why we'd call a special session, pay that money, and a week later you're in session. And that first
Why
week,
would you go?
the first
Yeah,
week in
why would you
session
go
is
in?
nothing. You could have done that during that time.
Here's the deal, Bob. Why would you go ahead when they've already said, "Hey, we're not going to stay. We're going to walk out"? Why would you go ahead with it? It's no good. It's worthless at that point. Even if we went in like we did, we stayed 3 days up there, cost the state lots and lots of money. And we made a vote and we went on record saying we would be ready to reduce that tax. We voted for it. Everybody knows what we'll do. But at the end of the day, what good was it? And we could have been just like what you said. If we would have wanted to, we could have waited the first week, went in there and done the same thing the first week. I think it would be more impactful to have waited the first week, got it done first bill out of the box. Boom, here it is. Now y'all don't have it. You're in session. Now you don't have any excuse. Wham, right here it is. If we had done that, I think that it would have said lots more. But instead,
Well, you can't call a special, or you shouldn't call a special session until the both sides agree that, well, hey, yeah, we need to do that. But apparently he didn't speak to the other side. I don't know.
Well, Bob, that's what I'm saying. I'm 100% agreement with you. Why would you not? There's obviously not communication or cooperation, whatever you want to say. But when you have three Republicans in these top seats and they can't coordinate anymore and can't get to work together to get anything done, we got a problem. And that's what we've got right now.
I kind of disagree with you a little bit, because just because you say you're a Republican doesn't mean you're a conservative. It's two different things.
Well, Bob, I agree with that. There's a lot of people wearing the title, and I think that's what the problem is. And I tell you, I think people want to run for higher office, and so they're willing to try to make it look like they're being extremely conservative. So that's why we're going ahead. But Bob, the problem is, especially in the Senate, they haven't wanted to even talk about taxes, and what they wanted to talk about is making driver's license legal for illegals.
I don't understand that one. That's sure not a conservative bill.
Blows my mind. You know what? Why would you even? I mean, that thing, would be it'd be a no. It wouldn't be. It'd be a no starter, Bob. I mean, I can tell you that if I was pro tem, I would laugh if you even brought that up. I'd be like, hey.
Well, it's like, with Biden, he has keeps the border open, and come to find out he wanted to change the rules and give these guys the right to vote just about time it comes voting time. Let them vote so he can pick up another several million votes.
Oh, absolutely. That's been part of it. I think part of the border deal is to absolutely change the structure, not just the voting structure, but actually change America. I mean, change who we are and,
What we
change
stand for.
our fabric of America, bringing in people from foreign governments, foreign places. And again, the thing about it is, used to immigrants, Bob, wanted to assimilate. When people came over from Ireland or England or anywhere from Mexico, wherever they were coming, they didn't want to fly their flag. They wanted to fly the American flag. They didn't want to be their country. They wanted to be American. Coming here for is to be part of this country and part of what we were. Now they don't want to. Now they want to come over here and represent their country and tear our country down. So again, yeah, why would he do that? He's a traitor. Biden's a traitor, and that's what traitor, and that's where they are them coming in and saying, well, we caught him breaking the law. We caught him with all this stuff. It is an absolute certainty he broke the law, but he's a nice old man and he's got a bad memory. Again, here's the deal, Bob. I've worked in law enforcement all my life. You know what my job was? My job was to investigate, turn over to the DA. If they were going to find that he was incompetent, they sent him to a psychologist, they sent him to a doctor. The DA's not qualified for that. I'm not qualified for that. That investigator, if people knew what he did, that was a piss poor play. He has not got the authority. That is circumventing the law. They should file on him for even writing that in there, because that has nothing to do. Now, if he wants to say the guy couldn't answer, didn't know where he lived, didn't know where, that's fine. But for him to draw that other conclusion's not. But Bob, back on our floor leader, that's been the big issue, is that, they don't want, so when we're talking about Greg McCourtney, he's just going to be another, and let me just say, Bob, I think you're going to feel the same way. I like Treat. I'm not just super good friends with Treat, but every time I talk to him, he's super friendly to me. He's always nice. I've never had him be rude to me.
He's a gentleman. He'll come and talk to you.
You know what I'm saying? I can't say a bad word really about him, except for his policies and except for what he tries to push and what he kills on the floor. He kills great bills. He kills good conservative bills. He does not want to talk about any kind of tax relief or any of those issues. And he does want to push these others issues that, are just, in my opinion, this grotesque.
Representative, there's one tax that I don't hear a thing about. And when we passed it, we were assured as soon as our economy turned around, they would eliminate it. That's the excise tax on cars.
Now, Bob, I filed
that. Can be very, that's, it can be more than $2,000 if you're buying a new car. And that was the very bill that they told us in the House, if you guys, excuse me, if you guys will vote for this, we'll take it. As soon as we get the money, we'll eliminate it. They don't even talk about it now, eliminating it.
Bob, I filed it during special session. I filed that to reduce that, eliminate it, and take it back to the that it was before. I filed it again this session, so there is a bill filed. I'll be really interested if they let me do it. When we're talking about that income tax, I think that we were looking at and did pass out of that special session, which won't go. But if we come back in this regular session, pass that, Bob, that might be $200. That might be $200 for per family per year. I think it's what that figured out. Wow. And like we say, we can pass this excise tax. You go down there and buy a car, $2,000. That means something. $200 throughout the year. You're not going to notice that. That may be 2 tanks of gas. One deal of groceries. And we're acting like that's going to be the life-saving blood forever. Boy, this is going to be a big, big deal. And if they want to have a conversation on the taxes, why don't we talk about regulations? I just got a ticket the other day, Bob, first one I had in 37 years. And you know what the price of that ticket was?
I don't know, $200.
279 or 282. I forget.
That's just what I was going to say.
I mean, dag gum, Bob. Hey, if you're, if you're a young person struggling and you got a lot of bills and you don't have a lot of income, if you're a single young person or an
Well, how does it
elderly
split
single
up? Where does the
person,
money go?
well, Bob, I don't think a whole lot of it. Some of it goes to the court system. I'd have to go get one of them sheets to see where all the money. I know the highway patrol doesn't get a whole lot of it, so it doesn't go to them. So my thing is, if you want to help the Oklahoma people, let's lower something like that. Let's quit all of the regulations. I just had to pull up some
Quit
cash.
charging. Go to our parks. We already paid for it once. To go to our public park, like out here at Thunderbird. Stop that.
They were wanting to put a gate on our land. At the time, would y'all put up the camera? So
you're really cutting out bad.
Well, I'm having to use my phone. Is the reason I've got to use my phone, because the state made me take out a bunch of gas tanks and they tore up my satellite, and I can't get my satellite people down here to fix my satellite to use computer. It's always something, Bob. But Bob, back to our floor leader and back to this pro tem race. Bullard, I think, again, Bullard is my senator, so kind of which way I'm leaning on the deal. But Bullard is definitely a more conservative person. I think his track record proves that. I think he's tested, tried, proven who he is and what he would do. But Bob, what a lot of people don't know is that the same thing is going on in the House right now. So everybody thought that House race would be, just they would pick the person and that there would be no opposition and that nobody would stand up to it. And again, Bob, I tell you, if you stand up to it, they are nasty, nasty folks. They would go after you big time on that. We got some people in the House that are just ruthless, and they go after other people. They use their consultant to drop other people. So that same consultant will go over and drop somebody and then go find them an opponent. So what they do, they've been caught doing this before, Bob. In 2018, they were caught, cannibalizing their own folks and going after about 14 and using dark money and illegal money, in my opinion, to go after their own people because they voted differently than what they wanted them to. So they want to control the House. They want to completely control the House. And so when we're talking about these positions as pro tem and as Speaker of the House, hey, you want to talk about important, because it's not just the bills. Bob, you and I both know that they'll put a little group around them and they'll control 100% of every bill that's going to be heard. And you have to get up early to beat them. You have to use some pretty underhanded tactics to get your stuff heard if they don't want, And what they do, Bob, they let everybody have one or two little bills that generally mean nothing. They keep all the good bills. You and I both know, hey, one of the bills we worked on, big bill, we worked on a $2 bill, $2 increase for correctional officers. That was a huge, huge bill. Bob, we know more. We got that bill just about done. And what happened?
Someone took the bill over.
They stole my bill. They took the bill away from us and they passed it. And then we come back and we left out 400 employees on that. We come back and got those 400 employees a raise. What happened to that bill?
I didn't know they took that one too.
Oh yeah, stole that one. Bob, I worked on a bill that to have the mental health transport mental health patients instead of the sheriff's department. Big bill we worked on for about 3 years. Now they didn't steal that, but they actually, if you went out and looked, you would have thought they were the ones passing it. Now, if you went on paper and looked, guess what? I was the one, me and Bullard got that done. But again, I had people calling, why'd they take that bill away from you? Why'd you take that bill away from you? Almost got in a fight over that thing. But anyways, I had another bill this summer that I worked on. Bob, I worked on a bill to say that the sheriff's department across the state in rural areas especially are not making enough money. We can't compete against the tribal pay, the PD pay, against the highway patrol pay. And so I come up with a plan to start a fund that we would make a minimal pay wage for sheriffs and deputies so that we can ensure that we can get some good sheriffs and deputies having a minimal pay wage. Now, nobody's ever heard of that. I mean, that's never been talked about. Brand new idea. Guess what? Same guy that took all three of those bills took this one too, and happened to file the exact same bill, right? Deadline, bam, files it. And guess what? Well, we're going to go with him because, and I understand that. I mean, he can get the bill passed because he's in leadership, But what I'm saying is that's how they work. And Bob, they do that so that everybody else is intimidated around them. They get all of this money. They control all the money. If you want to go up there right now and look at 4 or 5 of them, look in their election accounts, they will be cash flush. They will have millions of dollars. 1.5, I think there's 3 or 4 of them have 1.5. I think one of them has 1.2 million. Bob, I'll have about 12,000 in mine. And again, that's me doing pretty good right now. I'm not even griping about that. That's probably more than I've had in a while in there. But Bob, when your people that you're supposed to be helping are sitting with 12,000 and you're sitting with 1.5, what's going on? What's happening? And that's what we're talking about. Is that they control everything. They control what bills will get passed. They'll control what bills will get heard. They will control what bills get killed. I mean, 100% control that. I mean, ultimate control. And then they'll control the narrative. So if they want an abortion bill heard, guess what? They'll hear it. If they don't, guess what? That thing won't ever get the light of day. And again, when we're looking at these, should it be taxes or should it be illegal driver's license? Guess what's got the attention? We're going to try to push this illegal driver's license. So, Bob, I mean, you've been up there? Would you say that you would agree with my analogy, or what do you think?
Well, I know when I was there, it wasn't near what it is today. That didn't happen. I got my bills heard. I had to work at it, and you just didn't get the bill, and then all of a sudden it goes through, gets heard. I had to work at it. I had to try, and every day, hey, my bill gonna be heard. My bill gonna be heard. They get tired of listening to me. But what you're saying, what I know that's going on too, is really is after I left. But that was also when they got rid of about 10 guys or 12 guys. I don't know how many there was. Because they didn't like the way they voted because they didn't vote for a tax increase. Now, it doesn't make sense. They didn't vote for a tax increase, so they want to get rid of them. But now they want to vote for the tax increase.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you talk about, hey, we're going to get rid of this crew. They called them a cancer, and I've laughed. I said, well, what kind of cancer were they? I tell you what kind of cancer they were. They were never vote for a tax cancer. And y'all got rid of them because they wouldn't vote for tax. But it's bigger than that, Bob, because they're accountable. They were the ones that would stand up in caucus and say, hey, you can't do this, or this ain't right. And guess what? They didn't want that, and so they got rid of them. And now they got a bunch of people that dance to the music. I mean, they line up and do exactly what they're told for the most part. I think we've got about 8 or 9 that might.
But Representative too, you can't go to the Capitol and do your job if you just vote no on everything.
No, and Bob, I don't vote no on everything. I agree with you that you need to work with people, and I agree with you. You need to work your bill. I ain't looking for just a smooth, hey, everything Humphrey, although I will say, Bob, and you do know, if it's got Humphrey's name on it, it's probably a good bill. It's a really good bill if it's got Humphrey.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But here's the deal. I don't mind working a furry bill. I know there's a little controversy with that. And
Well,
I don't even.
you know what, your furry bill,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
that brought to attention that they are out there. I had never ever heard of it. I guess I'm living in a tunnel, but I had never heard of it. But there was a lot of people who hadn't heard of it also.
Well,
But
Bob,
that brought it to the attention of everybody.
I've got to ask a question. Are you ready to go to class? Are you willing to go to class? So in investigative class 101 is taking pictures, because I got to tell everybody that we got the scoop last week that they were having a furry convention in Norman, Oklahoma. So they had a furry convention at the embassy in Norman, Oklahoma. So I called Bob because I wasn't there. And I was like, Bob, you got to run over and give me some pictures. And he's like, oh, JJ, I don't know. And I was like, Bob, you got to get the pictures. You got to go over. So Bob, he snuck into the furry convention. Now, I don't know if he dressed up as a furry or whether he just went as Bob, but he did sneak into the furry convention and he got me some pictures. You can go to JJ Humphrey or Justin Humphrey Facebook and scroll down there. That was last Thursday. And Bob got those pictures, but I was wanting a few more pictures, and I was wanting to see Bob kind of mingle up with them. He got one where it looked like they were posing for him, but the rest, it looked like he's having to stand off a ways and get them. So we got to work on Bob's
Well, some
picture
of the people
taking
didn't want their
on the
picture
first.
taken, and some did. But they were very concerned when I asked if they knew JJ Humphreys. I've seen him around here. So that might have been what caused the pictures to.
You should have said JJ's dressed up like a honey badger. He's dressed up like a honey badger. That's what he's here as.
A honey badger.
Yeah, I like a honey badger, Bob. They're a tough animal. I'm if I start dressing like a furry, that's the one I'm going with right there. You know what I'm saying? Tough skin.
A honey badger or just a badger?
No, a honey badger, because they're the mean ones. They're the tough ones. A honey badger. Look them up, Bob. There's some bad cats. That's what we're going with, But Bob, just like that. Let's take that bill, and I do believe that putting in the when I said we'll call animal control on them, I was just getting a little attention. I was trying to get them stirred up a little bit. But here's the deal, Bob. What would be wrong with the bill that says no furries at school? They're a major distraction. It's the ignorantest thing you ever heard of. So what would be wrong with that bill? Let's cut the animal control and just say we're not going to allow furries at school. And again, for all those people screaming and hollering and losing their mind, if it ain't happening, then if we pass a bill saying this can't happen and it already ain't happening, then what are you screaming about? Use half your brain and try to think on that one, But here's the deal, Bob. That bill will be killed because they don't want to fade the heat. They don't want anything to do with got that much attention. And, so it gets sent to rules. Again, I think we ought to be hearing something like that. I think people of the state of Oklahoma ought to be able to say, no, that's ignorant. We appreciate. But Bob, I tell you that I go out all over Oklahoma. You're with me a lot of times. We go out. I have people walk by me. Give them hell, JJ. You keep doing her, JJ. We appreciate what you're doing. All the time I get that. You know what? Not everybody is mad over the furry bill. I'll tell you what happened, Bob. For about the first 2 days, everybody's like, JJ's lost his mind. But then the news stations started interviewing furries. And when they started putting all these furries out, and Jesse Waters started doing an article on furries, and all over the place, man. CBS, NBC started interviewing furries. People were going, the boys, he's right. And man, I started having people coming up. I would have never, just what you said, Bob, I never would have dreamed. I had no idea. And now I know it actually is true. And now I know it's going on. And you keep after it, Humphrey. You do what you're doing. And that's what I've been getting, Bob, everywhere I go. And again, now I got some people who will write me and say I'm an idiot. And I'll be like, Yeah, I can cop to that. I'll cop to crazy and being an idiot, but I'm the idiot with the bill, and we're gonna see whether I can get her done.
Well,
But
it's a strange deal. I don't know where these people come from. Just if it just started up or it's been going on all along, but
it's
I don't
been out
understand
there
the
for
schools
about.
going along with it.
Why would school go along? But here's the thing, Bob. That's where your speaker and that's where your pro tem are so important because all of this woke nonsense. If you got a strong person that comes out and we're not tolerating any of this woke, then guess what? If you have that in the House and you have that in the Senate, and I promise you, you got it in the governor. I got no, me and the governor have a difference of opinion when it comes to tribal issues and some issues like that, who he puts in his, uh, important positions in administrative positions. We definitely disagree on some of that. But at the end of the day, you don't have to wonder where this governor sits when it comes to financial issues and when it comes to taxes or when it comes to the woke crowd. I'll guarantee you he's got some backbone. You can't say that about the governor, that he don't have backbone and he won't stand up to the woke crowd. And again, we need somebody who's going to go in and say, hey, we're not going to tolerate DEI. And we need people, I ran a resolution to say, hey, let's not fund any school DEI. We didn't even get off the ground on that in the Senate or the House at all. I got more media attention than I got anything. And, why would that be when we were looking at OU funding transgender surgeries? And I come back, everybody thought I'd lost my mind because I wouldn't vote. I was the one, you vote with the Democrats. I don't care. I care less. Democrats are voting because they want transgender. I'm voting because I don't want to give one dime because they'll just take that money and they'll just use it somewhere else. They're just going to say, oh, well, we're not going to do it here, but we'll go across the street and we'll do it right over there. And so I voted against them. And again, I stand up against drag queens. Guess what? Kevin West has run drag queen bill. It's fight up the hill all the way. Can't get it heard, can't get it through. Fight all the way up the hill. Why should we have to fight our own party on these issues? Because these are issues that's taking over our schools. We need to shut that down. Bob, I got a bill right now. In fact, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but Rob actually come and talked to me back, I don't know, 6 months ago. And he'd met some people in agriculture doing some agricultural business. And he told me these people were from China. And I mean, these are high ranking people in China that he's talked to in some of his agricultural business. And he told me that those people said they wanted to get somebody on every major university board. And when he told me that, he probably thinks I forgot it. I don't know if I've even told him that I actually filed a bill that me and him discussed, but I filed a bill to say that you had to be an American citizen to sit on a college university board. Now, Bob, what would be wrong with that? What wouldn't you think most Americans would agree with that right now?
You would think so.
Guess where it's at? They put it in rules.
Dead.
What's that mean when a bill like
That
that
means
goes
it's
to
dead.
rules?
That means
That
it's dead.
means
Put
it.
it there to die.
Yeah, you got to do some hustling to get that bill revived. But again, that's okay if they won't kill it. I'm gonna make sure they get credit for it. I'm gonna make sure they get credit for killing that bill because again, that shows what we're talking about. That is an easy bill that everybody should agree with. In fact, you know what's wrong with that bill, Bob? That bill ought to say you have to be an Oklahoma citizen to sit on an Oklahoma school board because I don't want nobody from New York sitting on our school board. They ain't got
School board
Oklahoma,
or state board?
the
University
state,
board.
the boards for the university, yes. But here's the deal, Bob. Do you want somebody from New York on that board or you want somebody from Oklahoma on that board?
Oklahoma.
So what would be wrong with saying they have to be from
Well, who
Oklahoma?
appoints them?
Well, the governor appoints them, I think, most of them, I think. But again, I don't know on all of these boards. There's a lot of boards tied in with them universities and stuff,
Yeah.
Bob. But I want to say on any board, it has to be somebody that's an American citizen from Oklahoma, Oklahoma citizen sitting on an Oklahoma board. Bob, I think that's, but again, you see how easy it is for them to kill. That's great legislation. I'm not saying that because I ran it. I
Right.
didn't come up with it. I came up with it because a businessman who does a lot of business and knows what he's talking about came and talked to me and said, "Hey, this is concerning. This was what was told to me. This is concerning." I listened. I said, "Hey, I left and come up with a bill that says here's how we address that." Now, again, Bob, you would think kudos, but no, they're gonna kill it. They're gonna kill that bill, and people need to be aware that's what's going on, and that's why Pro Tem and House Speaker are so important. And again, Bob, this dark money that we talk about that they used to cut out what they called the cancer were 14 people who would not raise the tax, 14 people who would not bow down to them and vote exactly how they wanted them to vote, which is now, like you pointed out, highly entertaining in the fact that now we're wanting to go back and cut these taxes that we put back in. You know what I'm saying? That we killed. We took out our own people for not wanting to raise them, and now we want to lower them down. It's comical when you think about it, ironic, But
Well,
that's
that bill you're talking about on the being American to be able to be on a state board, I can imagine Charles McCall. I mean, Charles, I think the world of him, and I don't think he would do anything like that. I don't think he knows about it. Have you talked to him?
I went in the other day and took my list of bills that had been all of them killed because I was told that uh, Bob, I was told because that I had supported somebody else for speaker that none of my bills would get heard, and sure enough, they killed every bill I had practically. I mean, put them in some places. That tax bill we just got through talking about excise tax. It's going to A and B. That's one that is rightly assigned. I've got one that was all taxed. They taxed the beds for the nursing home, and it got properly assigned. Now I'm gonna probably have to kill that because I've done some research, and we actually get more money by doing that. We get the feds matches 3-1, so that one, after I researched it, I may stop at myself because I think that it would do more harm. But again, those two bills got properly assigned. Everything else got assigned. Didn't even my criminal justice bills and my corrections bills. Bob, they didn't even put prison bills in the corrections. I had one bill. Now they turned around and signed some more now back, but man, if you stand up and say we're not going to be for you, Bob, I'm telling you, I mean, they go after you. You better be a tough sucker to stand up and say, hey, I'm not going to vote for you, and I'm going to try to get somebody else to run for speaker. And we have, and I know they're worried.
Well, I went through 3 speakers that ever had anything like that.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, Bob. I talked to one the other day and said, hey, when you threaten to burn somebody's house and their house burns, then you're sitting over here saying I didn't say it. Well, what did you say? And well, I said that you wouldn't be the right person to carry a bill. Okay, so you're saying you tell this group not to use me to carry a bill, and then all my bills end up getting killed. That group says you said you were going to kill all my bills. All my bills get killed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, I get one bill in my committee. Bob, that says anything. If you're wondering whether they're mad at you, if you get one bill put in your committee originally, that's a pretty good sign that they're not happy with your political endeavors. You know what I mean? But again, people wonder what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. They go out and they get this big money. They go find you an opponent, and then they fund the money for your opponent, and they sit back and go, oh, we didn't have nothing to do with it. That is not true. They know. They went and got that consultant to do it. They fund it. They fund the other person. All the time set back, we don't know anything about it. That's bullcrap. That's not true. And again, that's what we're talking about. I don't think that's right. Me and you can disagree. Bob, me and you disagree. We're good friends. We disagree. All that means is you're wrong, so the thing about this, but we don't have to hate each other. I wouldn't go find you an opponent. There's people up there I strongly disagree. There's a few I don't even really, I'm not super fond of, but I would never go out there and try to fund an opponent against them, or try